Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. And I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we overcomplexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. All right, today I am joined by Julie Benton, who's the president of Andwell Agency. Julie, first, thanks for being on the program today. Looking forward to hearing more about your story and your business. Why don't you first just tell us a little bit about your background, kind of who you are and what you do?
Awesome. Well, thanks, John. Excited to be here. I'm the president of Andwell, which is a health, wellness, and higher education branding agency. I have been here almost my entire career. I'm going on year 19 at the agency. So our agency has had a few different names in the past, but I was able to intern for the woman who founded the agency back when it was Creative Alliance, and I have worked my way through every role, and now at the helm of our healthcare and education division. And it's a lot of fun.
Cool. So Andwell is not actually a separate entity from Sepecchio and
Nope.
Creative. It's just a division.
Yes. So
Okay.
when Scapecchio, so we rebranded to Scapecchio, gosh, 9 or 10 years ago, if it all runs together now. But about 4 years ago, we saw that especially in kind of the marketing space, clients were naturally just kind of more inclined to work with a very niche agency. Healthcare is complex, education's complex, and we were winning a lot of business primarily because of our expertise in that space. And so we made the decision to separate the agencies into kind of core entities because our teams were already so invested in kind of that space. It's been really nice for us to then translate that into a new name and a new brand so that it aligns with what we do more.
Cool. So I haven't seen education and healthcare combined like that. What inspired y'all to make that connection?
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's a question we get a lot, but when you think about kind of the core driver of someone's shifts in their life or their upward mobility or things that are really important to kind of change someone's life, their health and their education are two of the most critical things. So those brands that we represent, they're very mission driven, right? They're about changing someone's life or bringing more knowledge to you, whether that's more knowledge on how to be a healthier human being or shifting, your knowledge so that you can grow in a career or kind of advance in other ways. So they don't always make a lot of sense when you first say it, but then when you think about the importance, it works really well together.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, because I guess I do work with, I work with quite a few healthcare companies, but also I guess I do work with some education now to think about it. I hadn't really thought of that connection. So how long have you been the president?
4 years? 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. So stepping into that role, what's been the biggest surprise? I know it's a completely different thing when you're at the top of the org chart.
Yeah. I think the biggest surprise is how much energy I actually get out of it. I was concerned it would drain me. I was concerned like the weight of having, a 25-person staff was going to create an environment where I was nervous or panicked about the next thing, but it's actually like completely the opposite. It has motivated me and excited me more because I get to help be the person that helps create the environment for more people to grow and for us to grow as an agency.
Okay. So talk about the culture of an agency like yours. I've been around some bigger agencies in my past. What's kind of unique about Andwell? I would think it'd be a little different with the healthcare focus, especially.
Yeah, no, it is different. I think again, when we got to kind of branch out and become our own standalone brand, that helped drive our culture even a little deeper than when we were part of kind of a larger entity that represented a variety of industries. One, I tell everyone this even when I'm interviewing somebody, I'd say, this isn't sexy advertising. This is not, when you think about Mad Men or people working in, these big shops where it's retail can be really fun and exciting, and automotive and spirits. And there's all these things where I think the level of thinking can be different. The creativity can be a little different. Healthcare and education are very kind of personal and meaningful. So we're more mission-based, and I think that's just reflected in the culture and how we respond to each other and how we talk about things. We have a kind of a mantra that we talk about here. It's called healthy conversations. So we intro these with our clients, and in every kind of onboarding call, we say, look, this is how we're going to operate with you. We're going to tell you if we don't agree. We're going to do it obviously in a respectful way, but we do the same thing internally where we can say, hey, I need to have a healthy conversation with you so that it can be productive, and always kind of advance, whether it's something we're trying to do internally or advance the mission of what the client's trying to achieve.
So when someone has this need for as you call it, a healthy conversation, is that kind of, I mean, you literally kind of start with that trigger kind of, and people know, okay, we're going to get real here in this conversation.
And we do, and it was intentional because I think sometimes people are uncomfortable having tough conversations. But I think when you are saying, hey, I want to have a healthy conversation with you versus I want to have a tough conversation with you, you automatically, like, your defenses go down a little bit more when you say, all right, this is going to be productive. Like we have a reason that we're going to talk about this. So I think it's helped people feel more comfortable to be the one to engage in saying, hey, we need to talk about this thing. It just feels more productive. So it's gone really well.
That's cool. So you made the reference to Mad Men, and you're not that type of agency, but I'm sure there's still a pressure cooker, especially in the healthcare side at times. How do you kind of keep that mental focus and that mindset in the right place?
Being health and wellness and education focused, we try when we are building out just even programs for our employees to make sure we're really mindful of that. I've got a walking pad under my desk. A bunch of the team members do. We encourage one-on-ones for people to be out and moving, whether they're walking around downtown Louisville or on a rainy day, I see them lapping outside my office around the perimeter. So try to kind of engage from an activity standpoint. Make people get up, walk around, go talk to people all the time. We almost like force collaboration with departments that don't often work together. For example, media buyer and a creative director are not always spending a ton of time together.
Right.
But we do cross-functional one-on-ones, and we customize kind of who's going to talk to who. And it may be a very junior person here and a much more senior person here, where we give them almost kind of prompts of how to get to know each other and have an understanding of what those other departments are. So a lot of those little things where the team isn't kind of stuck in their function all day long. So they're getting a little bit of a nugget of information from somewhere else. And that is, I think, it's increased the empathy that everyone has and a little more understanding of one another. But it also just gives you a break, right? Like you're not sitting in front of your computer screen and having to churn out another project for somebody. So a lot of those things have shifted because you're right. We are very deadline driven. Things can change in a heartbeat. A client can call us and go, I need you to help me. I've got to do this thing in 3 days. And we're going to say yes. And we're going to figure out a way to do it. So balancing those super high pressure, high intensity moments with more kind of pauses, and we still go sit at the bar on our floor and have a drink at the end of the day sometimes, and we still do a lot of the typical agency stuff. We have a lot of fun. It's work hard, play hard, for sure.
Yeah. So how does everybody's talking about the generations and Gen Z coming to the workplace, and that's frankly, that's one of the biggest challenges that people are having is getting Gen Z to they'll play hard, but get them to work the work hard,
Yeah.
play hard part. Are you seeing that with your team? Or y'all having some uh, you know, growth challenges along those ways? And what tips do you have there?
Yeah, definitely seeing it. I think the healthy conversations has actually been really helpful because again, I had dinner with girlfriends last night and we were having the same conversation and we all work in different industries. Um, it's the setting expectations clearly, but also understanding their point of view is going to be very different from what mine was when I was 23 years old and entering the workforce. So
Right.
having the healthy conversation and saying, look, this is where I'm, I'm struggling with the response I've gotten, or I'm not understanding this. Help me understand how you're doing it. So I think just kind of making them feel comfortable, like they can explain where they're coming from or why their response is this, but it is tough. And I'm working right now with our HR team just to do some courses on executive functioning and proper email exchange and a lot of stuff because I grew up and went to school writing on a piece of paper all the time. You maybe had to turn in a paper from a computer, but like there wasn't text messaging the way it is now. So their communication skills have changed. I'd argue they're a much more enlightened generation relative to how do they feel and identifying things and being able to say, look, that really doesn't feel right. So I give them a lot of credit there, but I'm struggling to balance more of like the organizational side of it.
Yeah.
And we're just giving them the coaching, truly, like, sometimes they just haven't been taught those things.
Yeah. I was just having lunch with a president of a law firm and, having, this same conversation around some of the challenges she's faced with these, what's going on. And we talked about some of those very same things about how they really connect with your vision and your values, and you have to be true to them, man. You got to publish them, but you also have to, you can't violate them. As soon as you violate them, you've lost them,
Yeah.
But they're also, they're on the flip side is they're very, very enlightened, and they're very open to coaching. They're open to mentors. Um, they just have a stronger sense of purpose, and I would say parameters, or
Yeah.
they they clearly define their personal time better
Yeah.
than
And I
certainly
respect
better
it.
my generation.
Yeah, I respect it tremendously because I've been able to learn to like give myself that grace because
Hmm.
I'll see them, and they're the first to say, look, I got to take a mental health day. You know what? Good. Because when I was that age, I would have just struggled through and wound up in a much worse place at the end of the day or the end of the week. So I think it teaches me, and it also allows me, if I'm debating, oh, maybe, I want to take some time off or go do the thing. I'm like, I should. Everybody has earned this.
Yeah.
So I think they're teaching me things. And one other thing that I really like about kind of this new generation of workforce is, at least here, they're not afraid to come talk to me. So
Mhm.
as the president of the agency, I'll get just a tap on my door if it's open and say, hey, I want to run an idea by you. And I love that they're not afraid. Well, it's not always going to be the idea I'm going to run with, but I'm like, you know what? I would have never been so bold as to go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, I made the exact same point at lunch just now.
Yeah.
That's one of the big differences. They have no fear of walking to the CEO or the
Yeah.
corner office and going, "Hey, I got this idea. When did you start?" Well, this morning.
Yes,
Who are you?
it's
Uh,
true.
uh, it is a and I guess when um, they've grown up in kind of this, there's a something about the digital world that everybody's kind of on an equal playing level.
Yeah.
There's not like a bigger square on Zoom for the CEO over.
Right. Right.
Everybody gets the same size square, so there's this sense that we're all just here on the same call and we're all just equal. In reality, there there still is a hierarchy, but they don't necessarily see it in the same way.
Yeah, and they're not afraid to ask for help. I'm seeing that a lot more too.
Mhm.
And I think it's helping them grow in their own way.
Yeah.
I was more of I'm just going to figure it out myself because I don't want to ask for help. And I
Right.
like a lot in that capacity, but man, it was difficult to do.
Yeah.
And they are the first to go reach out to a colleague or say, hey, I think I'm going to try to do it this way. Does that track? And again, I think we can all learn a lot of lessons from that.
Yeah. Yeah. That is very true. There's something about, I know when I was further back when I was that age, but yeah, you never admitted you're wrong. You never
Yeah.
admitted, you would, and it's not like we had back then had the internet to go Google and search. It was, usually you had to go find a book or do
Yeah.
something, but it was a different age. But yeah, that's kind of that's interesting. As we're talking about that, I was also thinking about AI and the impact. What kind of impact is that having on your industry? I would think that's got to be pretty significant.
It is, but I will tell you, I am so all in terms of what it's doing for us. So,
Yeah.
um,
So am I. So we're
yeah,
we're not
it,
going to argue on that.
yeah, so we've got an incredible data team and also kind of IT team. They've almost kind of partnered in like bringing us new solutions all the time because it kind of started just with my creative team embracing AI for, um, generation of some quick ideas. They can kind of, it's whether it's a starting point for a brainstorm or finding the right photography. Again, if you've seen one piece of content for healthcare, you've probably seen them all. There's only so many ways you can, show
Have a
engaged
nurse carrying a
patient
clipboard.
care. And yeah, so we've used it for those very obvious ways, but our teams now are building so many resources for us to help with operational efficiencies. So stuff from reconciling back-end billing for all the media placements we do. We've got a new, I just did this. So I mentioned the conference in May that I went to. Um, I went to 11 sessions of different, topics, and I came back and I took all those notes, gave them to the data team, and they gave me 11 PowerPoint presentations, maybe in 10 minutes. So I then presented all of those presentations to our different members of leadership team. Again, they're not the prettiest things, but it didn't matter. It was more about the content, not
Right.
visual representation. So
Right.
they have saved us so much time by building a lot of these tools. They've been incredible. So it's very, I'm loving AI because I think it's a baseline of like, let's get the idea started or let's get the thought started. And then the value, and that's where my people want to be, is they want to be adding the incredible insights and thinking about it a different way. That's where, the value of the people, and that's where most people want to spend their time. They don't want to be, building the foundation. They want to spend more time in the strategy and kind of the creative side of it. So um, we're embracing it all day, every day.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. It's changed almost everything that I do in so many different ways. And I probably shouldn't admit this on the podcast, but like all the post production stuff
Yeah.
we do is almost all AI. I mean, it
Yeah.
used to be, when I first started doing podcasts, it was like, oh, you got to go back and listen to the podcast again and take notes and come up with thoughts and what's the theme. Now it's like, let me just give it this transcript. Hey, AI, what's the key theme? What's the major thought out of this? What's a good title for it? I mean,
Yeah.
it does all that, and it like you're done in like 5 minutes. And it's like,
Yep.
okay, I just need to go in, tweak a few words, change a few things.
Yeah,
But
no, I love it. It really, I mean, again, our clients are hiring us for the macro level thinking, for the strategy, for the creative ways to engage, a new way to talk to their audience. That's why they're going to hire us. So if I can make the back end a little easier on my team, it's worth it all day long.
yeah, very cool. Well, one of my things is I wrote a book called Your Baby is Ugly. It's a it's a little tongue in cheek, but it's
Uh-huh.
serious. It's about things that business owners need to hear and don't. We all have problems that we deal with. We've all had those, I call them ugly baby moments, that
Yeah.
we realize that something ain't right. So in your mind, think back over the past 3 or 4 years, what's been one of those moments where you realize, oh man, we got something we got to deal with. Here's a challenge. I love to hear these, overcoming stories. So,
Um, I think one of the biggest things for us was we were kind of reborn out of a new brand and a new identity when we had lived under the name of Scapecchio for so long. So that was really hard. But it's also been probably the thing that's made us is great at what we do, because we had to kind of start over as a team and build this identity together. And it wasn't just what's our logo look like and what's our website say, but it's like, how do we show up to ourselves? How do we show up to our clients? And I think it's been transformative. I think if we had not made the name change, if we were still just operating under, Scapecchio Healthcare or Scapecchio Education, we wouldn't be as far, because we wouldn't have changed our culture. We wouldn't have forced a lot of the change to happen. And I love change personally. I think it's tons of fun, and I have to be cautious because I think my team will experience change fatigue, because I'm like, what about this? And let's go try this thing. So I know that's my own gut check I have to do every once in a while and go, okay, slow down. We can talk about this in 6 months when we're ready, kind of thing.
So if you're talking to someone who's looking at, maybe let's use a branding change, something like that. They're looking at making some kind of big cultural change in their business, and they're the leader. What one piece of advice would you give them?
It may be kind of a generic response, but as someone asked me this, I talked to a gentleman a couple of weeks ago that's starting his own agency. And he said, I don't know where to begin. What's the first thing I do? I said, well, when you create your brand, do not do this alone. Find the people that you trust and do this with them, because my lens is so very different from my head of strategy or my creative director or my head of accounts. We have truly built this whole thing together as a group. And I think, again, when you bring people along, they're much more inclined to buy into it and make it easier. So not just assuming because you're in the key leadership role that it all needs to come from you. I've got a team of amazingly smart people. I should use them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great advice. There's that proverb, always screwed up, but it's, if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. But if you want to, go do it right,
yes,
go as a group. It's completely butchered every time. But that's the
okay.
thought. I think get the gist of it. I think it's so true. Well, Julie, thank you so much for your time. I love meeting leaders like you and hearing your story. And for listeners out there, if you're in healthcare or in education and you're looking for a marketing partner, sounds like this is somebody you should definitely have on your radar. Julie, if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way of finding out more about you and your agency?
Our website is andwell.com, and-well.com. And there's a button there that you can connect directly with us. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Hope somebody heard something that they needed today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they did. Thank you again for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.